I pressed my back against the attic wall, the smell of pine needles mixing with something else, something rotting. The footsteps below had stopped, and that's when I heard it. 3 slow knocks from inside the walls. But I was alone in that house, or at least I thought I was. Christmas Eve. For most of us, it's a night of warmth, family, and anticipation. The smell of cinnamon, the glow of tree lights, children counting down the hours until morning. But for some people, Christmas Eve holds a different kind of memory, the kind that doesn't fade with time, the kind that makes you check the locks twice, that makes you wonder if you're really alone when the house settles. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy true horror stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. These are 3 true Christmas Eve horror stories. December 24th, 1998. A farmhouse outside Bellingham, Washington. Population within 5 miles, maybe 40 people. Sarah Chen was 19 years old, home from her first semester of college. Her parents had left earlier that afternoon for Seattle. Her grandmother had fallen ill, and they wouldn't be back until late Christmas Day. Sarah had volunteered to stay behind. She'd feed the chickens, keep an eye on the property, enjoy the quiet. At least, that was the plan. Around 7 p.m., Sarah was wrapping presents in the living room when she heard it, a sound that didn't quite fit the rhythm of the old house. Something moving. Upstairs. Now, old houses make noise, especially in winter when the wood contracts and the pipes groan. Sarah knew this house, every creak, every sigh. But this was different. This was deliberate. Footsteps, slow, from the hallway above the living room, moving toward the stairs. She turned down the radio. The footsteps stopped. She waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Nothing. Sarah told herself it was the house settling, maybe an animal in the walls, a raccoon, a squirrel. But when she glanced at the stairs, something made her stomach drop. The attic door at the top of the landing was open, just a crack. She knew she'd closed it that morning. Here's where most people would call someone, a neighbor, the police. But Sarah's phone, a landline, this was 1998, was in the kitchen. To get there, she'd have to cross the base of the stairs. To get to the front door, she'd have to do the same. And something about that open attic door made her not want to turn her back to the stairs. So she grabbed the fireplace poker and she called out, "Hello? If someone's up there, I'm calling the police right now." Nothing. "I'm serious, I'm dialing." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full, heavy, the kind of silence where you become aware of your own breathing, your own heartbeat, the kind that makes you understand on an animal level that you're being listened to. And then, from the top of the stairs, a voice. "No need for that, Sarah. I'm not here to hurt you." He knew her name. Sarah would later tell police she didn't remember making the decision to run. One moment she was frozen, the next she was at the back door fumbling with the lock. Behind her, the footsteps on the stairs. Not rushing, not hurrying, just descending, one step at a time. She got the door open and ran into the snow in her socks. The nearest neighbor was the Adlers, about a quarter mile through the woods. Sarah ran, branches cutting her face, snow soaking through her clothes. When she reached the Adlers' house and hammered on the door, Mrs. Adler took one look at her and called 911. 3 sheriff's deputies arrived at Sarah's house 14 minutes later. They found the back door open, snow blown into the kitchen. They found Sarah's footprints leading away from the house. But inside, they found something that made Deputy Morrison request backup. The attic door was wide open, and on the floor of the attic, there were signs someone had been living there. A sleeping bag, empty food containers, cigarette butts, a stack of magazines, and something else. a notebook filled with handwritten observations about Sarah, her schedule, when she came and went, what time she turned off her bedroom light. There were sketches of her, of the house, of the view from the attic window. He'd been watching her for weeks. They never found him. Deputies checked the woods, neighboring properties, bus stations, everything. Whoever he was, he disappeared into the snow that night. But here's what keeps Sarah up at night, even now, 26 years later. The most recent entry in that notebook was dated December 24th, 1998, Christmas Eve, 7 p.m., the exact time Sarah heard the footsteps. And beneath the date, one sentence: tonight. Sometimes the horror isn't what happens, it's what almost happened. The moment you escaped something without fully understanding what you were escaping from. But sometimes you don't escape. Not really. December 24th, 2009, Denver, Colorado. The Morrison family, Tom, his wife Jennifer, and their 7-year-old daughter Lily had just finished dinner. Tom's parents were due to arrive tomorrow. The tree was decorated. Presents were wrapped. It was, by all accounts, a perfect Christmas Eve. At around 8:30 p.m., Lily asked if she could get her art supplies from the basement. She wanted to make a card for her grandparents. Tom was loading the dishwasher. Jennifer was on the couch, half asleep watching TV. Tom told Lily, sure, but don't take too long. Basement lights are on the left. Lily went downstairs. Tom heard her little feet on the steps. Then, nothing. He kept loading dishes. A minute passed. 2 minutes. Then he heard Lily coming back up. The basement door opened, but Lily didn't come through. Instead, she whispered, "Daddy, can you come here?" Tom dried his hands and walked to the basement door. Lily was standing on the top step, in the doorway, not moving. The basement light was on behind her, but she was silhouetted, her face in shadow. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Lily didn't answer right away. She just stood there. Tom felt the first flicker of unease. Then she said, "Daddy, who's the man in the corner?" Tom's blood went cold. He stepped forward, reached for Lily, but she suddenly backed down one step. "Lily, what man? What are you talking about?" "The man standing by the water heater. He's looking at me." Tom pushed past Lily and ran down the stairs. The basement was empty. Water heater in the corner, storage boxes, Lily's art supplies on the table. No man, no one. He checked behind the furnace, in the storage room, behind every box. Nothing. When he came back upstairs, Lily was crying. Jennifer had her now, holding her, asking what happened. Tom told them there was nobody down there. Maybe Lily had seen a shadow, or the furnace made a noise that scared her. These things happen. Lily insisted she saw a man, a tall man in dark clothes, standing perfectly still in the corner, watching her. They calmed her down, put on a Christmas movie. Tom even went back downstairs with Jennifer to show Lily from the top of the stairs that there was nobody there. Lily refused to look. By 10 p.m., Lily was asleep on the couch. Tom and Jennifer decided to let her sleep there tonight. Tom double-checked the locks on all the doors. Basement door, front door, back door, all secure. At 2:47 a.m., Tom woke to a sound. The basement door opening. He was down the hall from Lily, who was still on the couch. Jennifer was asleep beside him. The house was dark, except for the glow of Christmas lights from outside. Tom lay there, listening. Had he imagined it? Then he heard it again. Footsteps on the basement stairs, coming up. Tom got out of bed. He didn't turn on the lights. He didn't know why. Instinct, maybe. He crept to the bedroom door and looked down the hall. The basement door was open, just a few inches. And in the gap, darkness, but not empty darkness. Someone was standing there, in the gap, looking out. Tom would later tell police he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He stood there in his doorway, 20 feet from the basement door, staring at the figure in the gap, and the figure stared back. He couldn't see a face, just a shape, a silhouette, tall, still.
Then, slowly, the door began to open wider. That broke the spell. Tom shouted, loud, incoherent, just noise. He ran forward, slammed the basement door shut, and held it. Something pushed back. Not hard, just pressure, steady pressure. Jennifer was up, Lily was screaming, lights were coming on. Tom kept his weight on that door, his bare feet sliding on the hardwood, and he shouted for Jennifer to call 911. The police arrived 7 minutes later. When they opened the basement door, guns drawn, they found what every officer hopes to find in these situations and dreads in equal measure: evidence. The basement window, a small casement window near the ceiling, the kind you'd never think someone could fit through, was open. The screen was cut. On the concrete floor below the window were wet footprints. Someone had come in from outside, dropped down into the basement, and then stayed there. They found more. Behind the water heater, exactly where Lily said she saw the man, there was a small space. In that space, they found evidence someone had been sitting there for hours. Cigarette ash. The concrete was warm. And on the wall, scratched into the paint with something sharp, Lily sleeping, upstairs door open. Police theorized it was a burglary interrupted, or someone high on drugs seeking shelter. They dusted for prints, found nothing usable. The neighborhood had no security cameras back then, no leads, no arrests. But Tom remembers something the lead detective told him, off the record, as they were packing up. That window's been cut for at least a week, maybe longer. This wasn't random tonight. Whoever this was, they've been coming and going, and they knew when to leave. The Morrisons moved 2 months later. They never spent another night in that house. And Tom never told Jennifer or Lily about the other thing they found. In that space behind the water heater, among the cigarette ash and the scratches on the wall, there was something else. A child's hair tie, pink with a little butterfly. The same one Lily had been wearing that afternoon. Most of us go through life believing our homes are safe. 4 walls, a locked door. But safety is sometimes just an illusion we maintain, until something reminds us how thin those walls really are. And sometimes, the thing we should fear most isn't a stranger at all.
December 24th, 2016, Chicago, Illinois. Marcus Webb lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better days. He was 28, worked IT for a hospital, and hadn't been home for Christmas in 3 years. His family was in Ohio, but flights were expensive and work was demanding. So this year, like the others, he'd spend Christmas Eve alone. He didn't mind, really. He ordered Chinese food, put on some music, and was settling in for a quiet evening when he heard a knock at his door. It was nearly 9 p.m. Marcus wasn't expecting anyone. He looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. He opened the door. Nothing. No one. But on his doormat there was a package, a box about shoebox sized, wrapped in plain brown paper with a simple red bow. No label, no card, no indication of who it was from or who it was for. Marcus picked it up. It was light. Something shifted inside when he tilted it. He looked down the hallway, still empty, looked at his neighbor's doors, all closed. He brought it inside, set it on his kitchen table, stared at it. Now, here's where common sense should kick in. Anonymous package, unknown sender, don't open it. But it was Christmas Eve, and Marcus thought maybe it was from a neighbor or a coworker or some kind of building holiday thing. So he opened it. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a photo frame. Old-fashioned, brass, tarnished, and in the frame, a photograph of himself. Not a recent photo, an old one. Marcus, maybe 8 or 9 years old, standing in what looked like a backyard. He was smiling, and beside him, with a hand on his shoulder, was a man Marcus didn't recognize. The man's face was slightly out of focus, but he was tall, wearing a dark jacket, and he wasn't smiling. Marcus had never seen this photo before, didn't remember it being taken. He flipped the frame over. On the back, taped to the cardboard backing, was a note, handwritten, black ink. "Merry Christmas, Marcus. It's been a long time, but I never forgot about you.
See you soon. No signature. Marcus's first thought was this was some kind of prank, but who would have this photo? Who would know him as a child? He called his parents, woke them up, described the photo. His mom said she didn't remember anyone matching that description. His dad was more direct. Marcus, call the police right now. Don't touch anything else. Marcus hung up and dialed 911. While he was on the phone with dispatch explaining the situation, he walked to his living room window. He lived on the 3rd floor, overlooking the parking lot, and that's when he saw it. In the parking lot, under the glow of a streetlight, a man was standing, tall, dark jacket, looking up directly at Marcus's window. Marcus stepped back from the window, told the dispatcher someone was outside. The dispatcher said units were on the way. Stay inside, keep the door locked. Marcus ended the call and looked again. The man was gone. But then Marcus heard something that made his blood run cold. Footsteps in the hallway, coming toward his door, stopping right outside. Marcus didn't move, didn't breathe. The footsteps stopped. For 10 seconds, there was nothing. Then a sound he'd never forget. Scratching, like fingernails on wood, slow, deliberate, starting at the top of the door and dragging down, then starting again and again. Marcus backed away from the door. He grabbed a kitchen knife. Pathetic, really, but it was something. He called 911 again, whispered that someone was at his door, that he could hear them. The dispatcher kept him on the line, said units were 90 seconds away. The scratching stopped. Then a voice, muffled from the other side of the door. "Marcus, I left you a gift. Did you like it?" Marcus couldn't speak. The voice continued. "I've been waiting for this all these years. You don't remember, do you? You were so young. But I remember. I remember everything. Open the door, Marcus. Let's have a proper reunion." Marcus ran to his bedroom, locked the door, and pushed his dresser in front of it. He could hear the front door rattling. Someone was trying the handle. Then silence. Police arrived 3 minutes later. They found the front door closed and locked. No one in the hallway. No sign of forced entry. They searched the building, the stairwells, the parking lot. Nothing. But they found something else. In the stairwell, on the wall between the 2nd and 3rd floors, written in what looked like black marker, "3rd time's the charm." The detective asked Marcus if he knew what that meant. Marcus said no, but that wasn't entirely true. When he was 8 years old, Marcus had gotten separated from his parents at a county fair. A man had approached him, offering to help him find his parents. His mom had always praised him for this. He said no, went to a booth and asked the worker for help instead. Marcus had always remembered that moment. The man's face was fuzzy in his memory, but he remembered the man watching him as the booth worker called security. Just watching, with this strange, patient expression. That was the first time. When Marcus was 16, he'd been walking home from school. A car had slowed beside him. The driver had rolled down the window, asked if Marcus wanted a ride. Marcus said no and walked faster. The car followed him for 2 blocks before finally driving away. Marcus had never told anyone about that, had almost forgotten about it until now. That was the 2nd time. And now, Christmas Eve 2016, the 3rd time. Police took the photo for analysis. They ran it through every database they had, tried to identify the man in the background. Nothing. They increased patrols around Marcus's building, advised him to stay with friends. Marcus stayed with a coworker for 2 weeks. When he came back to his apartment, everything seemed normal, untouched, but he never felt safe there again. He moved to Portland 6 months later, changed his number, tried to forget. But 3 years later, December 24th, 2019, Marcus received a package at his new address, an address he'd shared with almost no one. Same brown paper, same red bow. We spend so much of our lives building walls, creating boundaries, telling ourselves we're protected. But the truth is, safety is fragile. It's a story we tell ourselves to sleep at night. And sometimes, on Christmas Eve, when the world is supposed to be at its warmest and brightest, that story falls apart. So tonight, when you're falling asleep under your tree lights,
When you're listening to the house settle around you, remember this. Sometimes the creaks aren't just the wood expanding. Sometimes the shadows aren't empty. And sometimes the person watching you through your window isn't waiting for an invitation. They're just waiting for you to look away. Merry Christmas, and keep your doors locked.